Hello and welcome. This is Nikta Gupta here, an expert NLP therapist, a counselor for emotional wellness and mental health. I have a brand by the name Heal Couch, and I do emotional counseling and therapies which are NLP based in my 4 clinics at Navi Mumbai, Pune and Dubai. So today we are going to talk about the power of forgiveness. Now, lots of people that I've seen cannot forgive others, and they can't also get over, they either can't get over the guilt of not forgiving others, and they feel that they have done something very bad about not forgiving others. So, and people also, I think that if I forgive him or if I forgive them, then it makes them okay, it validates them, not me. There was a lot of years that even I was thinking the same. It doesn't make it okay, and I have realized it, that forgiveness is never for the other person. It's not for his or her sake, it is for you. This I have realized after a number of years. I have my own story. I had a mother who was raised in strict discipline by her own parents, and she lost her mother at a very young age, and she was actually raised by my nanny, and the father was always in business, so she was actually raised by her nanny instead of her mother, because the mother wasn't there, she wasn't alive. And her own father, I mean my mother's father, that is my nanaji, was very strict with all their children, all right, including my mother. And my mother used to get physical punishments, and so did her brothers and sisters as well. They were beaten up often for the slightest mistake that they did. The only way they remember is my mom so always tried to be also strict with me, and the same way she was with me. And I remember early on, maybe I was in the first standard or maybe in the lower KG, I do not remember, I was pretty young. I still have a very clear memory of this, that I was learning to write B and D, and I was constantly making mistakes. When it was B, I was writing D, and I saw my mother's patience wearing off, and I was repeatedly being hit on my knuckles whenever I was making that mistake. That is a very, very clear memory for me. So at that moment when I was that child, I still remember that incident. So during those early learning times, when I was between the ages of 3 to 10, 15, I used to quickly finish my lessons and homework for the fear of being reprimanded. I used to hate getting punished, and that is how I used to do the homework very fast, and I used to finish instead of getting beaten up for this or for study. It's better to do it fast and just run off. So of course, by God's grace, I did pretty good at school. As a very, very good student, I was almost topping my class. But sometimes later, I did ask her when I was in college, when I still realized things, when I started comprehending things, I did ask her that why she had to beat me so much while learning, while teaching. My mother used to teach me almost all subjects till school. So, so the answer that I got from her was that she never had a mother herself. And the thing was, she wanted to make sure that I'm a good girl. I'm raised as a good girl, so good girl means being good in studies. And so she had no idea how to raise me, because she herself was raised by her nanny. She had no idea how to raise a child. Of course, I did not come with a manual, right, an instructions manual when I was born. So she had absolutely no idea how to raise a child. So what she understood is the way she was disciplined by her own father, by getting beaten up for mistakes that they did. She thought this is the only way you can make a child listen, and or this is the only way you can make somebody behave properly. And of course, my dad was a lenient person for the comparatively. So he was softer. He never raised ever his hand on me. And I more than up made, but my mom made more than up for my dad's leniency, and she did whatever was necessary for her to do. So of course, later on in life, when I learned NLP and stuff, later when I started really comprehending things, I forgave my mother once. I realized all this. I did meet a mentor who sort of shifted my paradigm to love, kindness and forgiveness. And while upgrading my knowledge and skills, I went to an event where they shared the person that you hate the most. And the person who I hated most at that point of time was my mom, because of certain reasons. Because I thought she didn't love me, because she usually beat me up during studies time, and that was the only grudge that I had with her. There was no other grudge. So my mentor asked me that, have I ever cared to ask my mother, why did she beat me up so much? So I said yes. This happened when my mom was hospitalized after her bypass, and I spent about 28 days with her. God bless her soul, she's passed away now. She's no longer here. But yes, before she passed away, maybe a week before or 10 days before, I did ask her, why did she used to beat me so much? So I asked her, why did you used to beat me so hard when I was a child? Why didn't you just talk to me instead? I would have understood. And the answer she told me was, I wanted you to be a good girl, and you didn't listen to me at that time. And that's how my Nani ji communicated to me, that way only. So this is all that I know, and that's how I did. That's how I did my best. So I asked her, didn't you really love me? She said, of course I loved you. That's why I did it. And my father did that to me all the time. What she recollected is, she's saying my Nanaji, that is her father, did that to her all the time, so that she becomes a good girl. And at that time she did not have a mother, so she thought this is the only way to discipline me. And the first thing in so many years, it dawned on to me that she did not do that because she hated me. She did that because she loved me so much. She did that because she did not know any way else, or any way, she didn't know any ways to do it differently. She did it because she loved me so much, and she was trying to get me to comply with her wishes of me being a good girl, and a good girl was always the first in school. So once I understood why she did it, it actually gave me courage to forgive her. And actually I forgave her so that I could let that emotion go, so that I could be free of my hatred for her, so that I could be free of my resentment and anger that I kept in my system for so long, that I could finally let that go. It was like, that point of time, it was like I was taking the poison and hoping the other person would die. That was the situation. Okay, so as soon as I forgave her, I didn't ever remember her ever said that she ever said sorry to me. I don't remember it ever. She must have, I don't remember it. Or she never once ever thought that she did anything wrong. She never accepted that she did something wrong. And of course there's no question of saying sorry, but she never said that. And so there is something little more than to this, is because of how she was with me as a child. I was the exact opposite of her with my son. I raised him with so much of love, of course discipline, caring, hugging him, kissing him, showing and actually displaying love, showing love out to him. And of course, it's not that I have never beaten him. When he was a child, yes, but not as often as my mother did that to me. I did that sometimes, when he was pretty young. And, that was out of my patience running out. That's all it was. And so till this date, I had motivated him with every opportunity that came forward. Okay, so because of my mother being this way with me, I was diametrically opposite of that with my son. So I am in thankfulness and gratitude for my own father being like that for me. There was always a blow hot and a blow cold. If my mom was strict, my father was lenient. So that blow hot, blow cold was always in my house. And so remember, I had to actually change that frame to have the courage and speak with her before she passed away, and I'm so glad that I did. I did that. Yes, I choose to release my anger and hatred for her, because actually the hatred was within me. Actually, that hatred that I had for her actually did not affect her at all. All it was doing was affecting me. She was going about with her life as usual. She had no idea this is what I was thinking. So for someone who did that like that, as soon as I did that, as soon as I released that anger, as soon as I forgave her, I was free to be me. And like, for example, the Bible says, to err is human and to forgive is divine. And I do feel divine. I'm glad I did that before she passed away. I had the courage to ask her. Otherwise, it would have been too late, and till date, I would be just blaming myself. So, every religion practices forgiveness, because it's Napoleon who said that a man who never made a mistake never made anything. So, I admit, yes, I have made lots of mistakes in my life, and I can only learn by making mistakes. So our mind, remember, learns by repetition. So you just have to wire in the new thoughts. Just like you have to upgrade the software on your phone or on your laptop, you need to upgrade, right? You cannot go around with the software which was in the 1990s or 2000. You don't use that software, neither do you use that phone. So you upgrade the software, you also upgrade the hardware. Similarly, you've got to upgrade the software and hardware of your body. The software is the mind and the hardware is your brain. So you need to let go of beliefs. You need to forgive people, not because for their sake. You need to forgive people for your own sake. If you do not forgive people, this manifests in psychosomatic illnesses as much even as cancer. So keep upgrading your software, keep upgrading your mind, keep letting go of beliefs that no longer serve you. Change your mindset, be more accommodative, forgive more, and feel blessed. Thank you so much.